Welcome to Hack Takeover on 107 FM, where tomorrow's world is already here. I'm McQuaid, and this week I'm joined by Sam.
Hello.
Hi, Sam.
Morning.
Dean.
Afternoon.
Afternoon, yeah, even.
Yeah, good afternoon.
And we're going to lift the lid each on all the text reshaping how we live, work and play. So from the phones, we can't put down the algorithm shaping every skull, we're going to be asking what we're really trading. So for the next hour, it's time to have some fun. We're going to challenge our thinking, but you can connect with us over on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram on Hull's 107 FM, or you can drop us an email to studio@107fm.co.uk. But this month's big tech talking point, gents and listeners, AI-driven deep scams hitting everyday life. The UK's 1.6 billion AI investment push for businesses, and the bigger question, whether people and processes are really ready for the tech that's actually going to be reshaping the world, but also this fantastic reason. So before we get into that, we'll be straight back after this. So back. Fantastic, that one. Great track. So as we're going, so this first sort of segment, Sam, Dean, is AI in everyday life. But what I want to do, just for listeners, quick intros. So Sam, quick intros, because some people might not even know who you are.
Yeah, I'm Sam from Blink Video agency based in Hull, and yeah, I'm very interested in tech and AI and how it supports my business and everyday life, and how I can use it within my business, and a bit of a tech fan really. I guess that's why I'm here.
And Dino, you're back on. Well, it's not a podcast; it's a radio show.
It's a radio show this time. Yeah, I used to podcast, but yeah. So I'm Dean, responsible for client success at ThinkCloud, and yeah, one of my main duties there is to protect the clients with the use of security and technology.
But Dean, you was one of the original founders of the Act podcast with me and Paul back in the day.
Yeah, it seems like a long time ago that.
And now we've got a radio station going and cameras going, so it should be some fun, shouldn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit different, but yeah, loving it.
So where we're going to go, Sam, I'm going to hit us with. So imagine, your gran rings you from a Hull landline, panics about a bank account, and you hear a voice, but the person on the end isn't her. It's AI, and we've been talking about this, haven't we? Scams, and you've got a couple of stats for us, haven't you?
Yeah, well, I guess just kind of setting the tone really. National trading standards, they've warned of this chilling new wave of AI-assisted phone fraud. So criminals, what they're doing is they're getting you on a phone call, and they're maybe giving you like a lifestyle survey. You might be kind enough to give them a bit of your time. They're understanding your voice print from that point. They're cloning it, and then they're using it to set up unauthorized direct debits over the phone. So, for example, like they might... this is the thing, they're kind of taking advantage of elderly people more than anything. That's who's kind of most affected by this. But they're doing these online surveys, they're getting a print of the voice, and then they're ringing up family members and saying, I need some money sent over. And who are you to judge it when you think, well, yeah, if it was someone random, but a 01482 number's rang me, I've got a family member asking for some money and some help, and it's their voice, and you're going to send the money out.
And this is why it's perfect. This is why it's perfect we've got Dean today, because Dean, you're on the phone when clients are struggling, but also, you're hearing about this all the time. We're hearing about, I don't know if you remember, Sam, you've even heard the WhatsApp scam. There's a WhatsApp scam going on a few years ago where there was getting hold of a sibling or a child's name, going to the parent or the grandparent and saying, I've lost my phone, I'm trapped, can you send me some money? And we were seeing people getting scammed like that.
Were you seeing that as a business?
Yeah, we were seeing that. And I think, Dean, you've got an example you're going to try and
unpick. We had one not so long ago that there was, I think it was a 78-year-old grandmother received a phone call from somebody claiming to be a grandson. The caller was distressed, said that he'd been in a car accident while travelling abroad. And at that point, it was passed over to another person who was pretending to be a police officer, speaking to this grandmother saying, right, your grandson's abroad, we need £3,200 immediately to cover the legal fees and the bail. There's been an accident. Put a sense of urgency. They keep her on the phone. And that triggered this lady to pay that money. By the time she'd paid it, it's gone.
And I think unpacking that and just pushing that is just the language you was using then. There's always a sense of urgency.
Yeah, playing on emotions.
Yeah, of course. Fear. So you got fear there. You've got urgency. You've got distress. And more needs to be done about it. But thoughts on what you're thinking? I can see you shaking your head there. You look a bit disgusted.
I'm disgusted. Scams anyway, they frustrate everyone, don't they? But when they're playing on emotions and, especially kind of like going for the vulnerable people, it is really frustrating to hear. I think it's kind of one step ahead of what people are probably already aware of as well. With maybe not scams, but in terms of how like voice cloning and technology is available. Don't know about you guys, but I'm getting calls quite a lot at the moment where I'm answering, and I'm having a conversation with someone, but after 2 or 3 kind of back and forths, I realise I'm not speaking to a human. I'm speaking to an AI robot. I'm speaking to a cloned voice anyway. So, I mean, even that alone, that technology, people might not even be aware of that. There'll be sales calls that people are doing, and they're interacting with it, but they're not actually interacting with a person. I think where we can maybe lead on here, those calls are probably the ones as well, which that's how they're training your voice on like a model.
Yeah.
So there's no one even at the other end of the phone that you're speaking to. You're speaking to them and they're capturing your voice and then being able to clone it. It's crazy.
Yeah. And I think just some bits on that. If AI can sort of clone anyone's voice, who can we trust? And we talk about this in business where you want to be operating zero trust. You know, we look after you, don't we? We don't trust who you are, because it's so easy to clone. I think us three all sitting here, we've got a video clone of ourselves and a voice clone of ourselves. We use it our day-to-day lives, don't we?
I'll expand a little bit on that as well, because we've got a good understanding of how this cloning works. And what's scary is how quickly the technology's advanced, because around a year ago, we kind of started this journey, well, a bit longer than a year ago, but where we was really kind of made a product out of this, out of kind of AI cloning of voices to use for good. To get a kind of a really good representation of your voice, we were saying you need about an hour and a half worth of voice recording.
Yeah.
And it used to take as well, the other scary bit, because we're using the tools all the time, it used to take probably about a week to process the video, the voice, and you can always tell.
So now after like, they're saying about 2 to 5 minutes on a phone call is all they need of your voice. So I mean, even me speaking right now, there could be someone recording my voice as I'm speaking right now and using it, putting in some software and cloning how my voice sounds. So I mean, even that's scary in itself.
Yeah, but I think we always operate on zero trust. So what's the advice we give?
Yeah, I mean, it's like the biggest set of advice, and I do this to my parents and my grandparents. They've had these attacks before where they've had text message or phone calls asking for money. Main thing, the biggest piece of advice for me is to end that call and always ring the person back on the main number that you've got. Even banks, if somebody's ringing to pretending to be from a bank or you're not sure, you just end that call, you ring them back on the main number that you found on their official website.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think a real simple rule people can remember, you don't need a 20-point checklist. We really need to simplify this. And I think I've done this with my own mother. I'll give her a safe word, right? Like a code word, what she needs to use, because, and I'm constantly updating that, and it's somewhat what makes her laugh, but I'm only speaking to her when I'm in front of her. I'll pop and see her for a brew, and I just have a little bit of a moment with her, just let her know, and because she's amazed at the videos that you produce, Sam, for us, and the ones that you like. She thinks they're all real.
Yeah, just again, for context, people listening, we're one of the products we've got at the moment is AI avatars.
We're in the business for using AI for good, and I think one of the key sort of points is criminals. If we're talking about the world should be using AI, criminals are also using it. So it's a huge problem. We've got our hands, huge problems. So what are we thinking? Where do you want to debate? What do you want to unpack?
Well, I'm just going to move on to a little stat that I've got in that 88% of Brits regularly worry about AI use anyway. So there's 88% of people which, that only shows that 12% of people don't worry about it. 88% do. So I do think people are aware of it, and but are they aware of it in terms of its capabilities to be used as a scam?
I think it's like everyone. I think in this world, the technology that we live in, you don't know what you don't know, Sam. So like, if you think about it, in the world we're doing, anyone can spin up and do IT support and cybersecurity like we're doing. Anyone can do it, or they think they can. Anyone can be a video editor, can't they? How many years have you been trying to teach me to be a video editor? And I made you look like an Oompa Loompa the other week, because you were so busy. Right, so
yeah, colour graded mask. Yeah,
should we get that out?
Yeah,
should we get that out there?
I'm not actually that orange for people who have seen that video.
You did have a suntan. You did have a suntan.
Yeah, I just come back from holiday.
Yeah, he's always got a suntan.
And I was trying my hardest to get Sam to do a job, but I thought I'd help. I thought I'd use a bit of AI to just get something out quick. But you're an expert, Sam, right? And the challenge is, I think what we've got is, and I don't know if it's a Spider-Man quote or some quote, I love this quote, you hear me say it all the time, I can see you giggling, but with great power comes greater responsibility, right? And I think, and this is why, Uncle Ben, right? But I think the challenge we have on this is, I always talk about people, process, technology. So the people bit and the process bit is an education piece. And I worked out the AI basics courses that I was doing and training that we've been doing. How many people do you think have trained to use AI in the last 12 months? Only 12 months. How many actual people?
That you've trained?
Yeah.
What, in person?
In person.
500.
Yeah, I'd say I'm going to go 1,000.
1,300.
Yeah,
right?
it's a lot.
A lot. Yeah. And I've been going back through my notes, and one of the final cohorts that we put together, the work that they produced in 2 hours with the AI tools, and a lot of these was free AI tools, to get them playing with them, compared to only 12 months ago. The academics who was judging, we do like a judging panel, so we break them into teams, make it safe to play, give them a fake scenario to use AI. One of them's a voice cloner for doing presentations, the video software, and these products like Hage and like we use, and the Synthesia and these other tools, isn't they? And I'm sure there's all different platforms out there. And they go away and we just get them to play with these tools. And the academics on the judging panel, their comment was, this is the sixth cohort, we can't believe the standard and the level of output that has been produced in this time in this room.
In a short space of time.
What we're saying, like 1-2 days kind of timing?
2 hours.
Oh, yeah.
2 hours. But they are trained, one of the key points in that though, they are trained up until that point. They're trained over 2 days, and then half a day you go on the football field. But my point where I'm sort of taking this though is now people are aware of it. What tips would you say? So we've already said number one tip. What's the top tip for if there's any grandparents out there who are saying that very technology savvy, or parents, or just people that tech savvy? What's the number one advice if someone rings them and they're not sure like that, Dean?
Yeah, for me again, it goes back to that. We always use that zero trust adoption, and for me again, for my family, I use the same thing. You always end that call if there's something suspicious, even if it is your bank and you're sure it's your bank. But if they've contacted you, just make sure you end that call and you ring them back on the official numbers. Even family, if you're having a family member calling you to say they need some money transferring, you just make sure you end that call, you ring them back on the main number, or even check with another family member. I think the 2 or 3 checks you can do prior to making any decision is key, really.
I think that's amazing. And then another top tip, we say this in business, but I'm telling my mother to do this as well. Even if she can't get hold of another family member and she is adamant that money needs to be transferred, I'd say this anyway, even if you are not rushed. So anytime you are setting up a new payment for anybody, I recommend this. A friend, if you're sharing a bill for a taxi, you owe someone some money, I recommend this so many times. When you set that payment up, just send £1.
Yeah.
But send
I don't know, lose a quid. I'll send a penny.
Yeah, send a penny. but make it not a round number. Like 57p, 37p.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is I've made that payment. You just confirm how much I've gone, right? So it's just making sure that because a lot of these scammers as well aren't even connected to the bank accounts. They're just doing it to get you to log in.
Yeah, it's like my parents moved house just before Christmas, and they had a massive refurbishment done, and there was a large bill that they needed to pay the builder. My dad wanted me to walk him through the steps. How do I pay online? How do I do it safely? And I said, right, best thing you need to do is send him £1. It's a large sum of money that you need to send. Send him £1, you give him a ring, get him to check his bank and get him to confirm to you how much money's dropped into his account. At that point, you're safe to do the rest.
I listen to that.
It's a great piece of advice, yeah.
Have you ever thought about that, Sam?
I've not actually. It's funny, I had to pay a deposit for a trip that I've booked coming up soon. And I got an email today and I was really, really cautious of it because they was asking for a couple £100, but it was obviously because it's abroad as well, like it's in a different language. I'm thinking, what is this? And I'm having to do the research. I'm having to tie it back and click the links through to the website, make sure that the email that's coming from is legit. Sent it over, but even then, I've still got that doubt. So yeah, I think that's a really good bit of advice. Sending just a little bit and just saying 57p and saying how much have I just sent you? I think. And then reaching out to them through a number which I've got through their official website. So
the same advice for everybody, and I think sometimes we always get a bit confused. The process is simple half the time. It's really simple.
Yeah, and like I think you went back to a point earlier. You said we don't need a 20-point checklist at times. Sometimes it's just the basic, simple things that we need to think about.
Tell you what, as well, there was we've got time. Just go for a little.
You've got about 30 seconds.
Well, we might want to come back to it after the break then. But there was a time, I don't remember, on last year was it last year or year before? I was shooting a wedding and I had a call from
right,
someone.
we're going to pick that up after this. 'Cause that's a great.
Yeah, because you had some good advice on that. And
I was going to say that, but I didn't want to say it live on
you
air.
didn't want to embarrass me, did you?
That
got done.
Let's
I didn't actually get done. Thank you
Well,
very much.
these are the best stories.
We'll unpack that in a minute. We'll be straight back after this. So we're back. I just wish we could show the music or play the music on the video podcast, but we can't. But great track. Right, so where we're going to go. So, Sam, we was talking, weren't we, about AI being used for impersonating people's voices and phone scams on that sort of first section. We had some good advice, didn't we, in terms of it? And if you're new on this, the advice was just make sure that if anyone tries to scam you over the phone, put the phone down and only ring back off a number. Other top tip we gave as well, ring somebody else, try and verify that as well for you, didn't we?
Yeah.
And where was going, Sam? Because you was going to share something that I wasn't going to share. So before we get into AI for business right now, I do think this is quite important around the phone scamming. So where do you want to go?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've been on about phone scamming, and I just forgot actually, and so we was talking about it in that last segment that I had a call year before last year. I was at work, got a call from someone saying...
and Sam, just to put this into context, because we was talking in the first segment about the way criminals use fear, the timing of it.
So
what time was this?
Yeah, it was like lunchtime on a Saturday, but I was halfway. I was basically at work. But yeah, it got me a good time of day, and I guess because probably I have the time. So if they get you, after work hours, it's not something that you're rushing to put the phone down. But yeah, it was basically saying that it got into one of the crypto accounts I've got, and it's taken all the money. But they've also been able to obtain my driving license, passport, and a few other things. So it was one of the crypto companies that had rang up apparently, and they asked for some security questions for me to get through.
And just to support you on this, they actually dropped one of the names of the crypto accounts you had.
Yeah.
But what was interesting,
actually, it was a Yorkshire sounding voice as well, which is what. It felt really familiar. It didn't feel like a foreign voice, or you get these call centres where they're obviously from out of town. It sounded like it was someone from Leeds, Harrogate, where, in terms of the accent that was familiar with. It was a really familiar sounding voice, and they said that they had all these details from me, and he was able to say a few of these details. So I had that level of trust, but he was saying that we needed to act quickly to shut my account down, but I needed to change passwords on my email account. So he was basically trying to get into my email account to get access to more things. And I was going along with it for a little bit, and there was just a few things I was worried about. I ended up putting the phone down and ringing you, and I was like, I'm pretty sure this is real, but you quickly put me at ease and said, it's definitely not. Because there was a couple of bits where you were like, no, there was a couple of telltale signs where you knew.
The way Sam was in a frenzy when he rang me.
Yeah, sense of urgency.
I was like, there's so much urgency on this. And then when I unpicked it and asked some questions, it didn't logically make sense, but they'd already preyed on his fears. So they'd already, his logical mind wasn't in there, his emotional mind. He's got his bank details on there, he's got his passport. All of a sudden, they've got into his crypto. What can we do? And then all I started to do was, right, what's the process? Have we got two-factor, on these accounts? And I just started logically chipping away at it. And I'm going, let's do everything what we can. But I think the lesson for you on that, though, I'd spoke to you, we've worked together, we've known each other for years about cybersecurity. That was the day you started taking cybersecurity very serious, wasn't it?
And also, I gave the number to you, and you did something which might be a little bit unconventional, but you just let me just try it. You ran the number yourself, didn't you? And you was able to quickly identify then that it's isn't real.
So what I recommend is don't ring it off your own number. I used a blocked number, and I rang back pretending to be being fraudulent. And one of the victims, I pretended that was a new victim that they just rang, and the phone got cut off, and I desperately needed to make the payment. And they gave me a reference number. I said, "Can you find my reference number?" And they couldn't find my reference number. Right. Yeah. So my challenge is we can be creative and we can think outside the box. It happens to us all. So where I want to sort of unpack, and let's bring this back round again then. So AI in business right now. So some people might be saying, well, I'm just listening to a radio show, might be sat in the garden, might be in the bath, might be having a brew. What do you mean business? But if we're showing that hackers are using it, that means it's big business, doesn't it, Dean? If we are using it personally, so again, let's look at it personally. I love watching I forget the Overlap podcast with Gary Neville and the lads. Yeah. They're now using Copilot. Have you seen that? The Copilot's getting mentioned all the time. You can get your Google Gemini. So I can see you looking at me. There is other AI tools out there, but it's becoming mainstream. It's everywhere. And I think in business, we've now got the UK's stuck in a big label on the map and saying that they're trying to promote what we call AI growth zones. It sounds super impressive, but it's about helping manufacturers and industrial estates outside of Hull. Or is it about powering more data centres down south? I want to sort of unpack that, because there's a real big challenge I see on this around we need to get people more comfortable using AI, but then AI costs money. And I think there's the big thing on this around the price that some of these AI tools cost at the minute. They're not financially viable. So if you go look at OpenAI and some of the big companies, they're all losing money. They're all losing money. And I'm sure there's a CEO in some boardroom with these AI companies saying that let's get everyone hooked on this AI, and then they're going to rank. So it's going to get.
There's a lot of risk. Yeah. There's a lot of gambling in this, isn't there?
Yeah, and you think, and that's what worries me sometimes when we look at, we want growth zones for manufacturing.
It is going to grow, but is it going too quick?
This is it, Sam. So what stats have you got for me? Come on, give me some data.
It's not stats, more just expanding on it really. So the government policy on this AI growth zone that we're talking about aims to unlock investment in AI-enabled data centres by improving access to power, speeding up and planning in selected regions. So I guess getting rid of a little bit of red tape to speed this process up, because it's such a competitive market. The idea is to create these AI hotspots that attract serious capital for infrastructure, and then obviously looking closer to home, being Hull, York and North Yorkshire, they've formally put a bid in to host one of these first growth zones. It's backed by Combined Authority of University of York and Drax. If it's approved, government documents suggest it could unlock tens of billions in pounds in growth across Yorkshire and Humber. So I'd say it's pretty exciting. So, AI is going to create all these jobs and create these opportunities. It's not all doom and gloom, is it?
I think that's where people are worrying, though, because they think AI is taking people's jobs rather than the other way around.
And I think there's two challenges, aren't there? The challenge I have sometimes, and it's been interesting because I get to do a fantastic work with InCloud, work with some amazing companies, don't we, Dean? Yeah. Some of the places we go and some of the boardrooms, we have to pinch ourselves, don't we, right? And then I also get the great opportunity to be an entrepreneur resident at the uni, right? And just look at that stat I told you about all them people trained and learn. I always ask at the start of my sessions for people to list out their fears and the hopes, and everyone is just so scared of it at first, and people don't understand it. But
are you scared of it?
There's two sides of it. Things are happening so fast in AI. I am struggling to keep up. And let me just give you an example. So Sam, you used to do this research for this show, didn't you? All yourself, right? But then I challenge you on that was taking you a couple of hours to do. And then Madison wants to do some bits from an editing point of view. We then got to fact check stuff more detailed now because we're going on air. So I was like, right, let's build an agent to help us automate this process. Now, it's put to us, anyone watching, we've now got structured show notes now, haven't we? We've now got it referenced and spot checked. And we was putting attendance documents together last week in Word, and we was manually updating some boxes on it and certain bits. I was just able to chuck this back into the AI tool because we've built a dedicated agent to do research notes. I showed you it had done 61 tasks, Sam. 61 tasks, but off structured data on websites that you was reading, I was reading, because you was doing your own research. I'm doing my own. Paul pretends he does research, Dean. You actually did research, didn't you, coming in? Madison does research, and it's got to be right for our region, right?
It's ironic, isn't it? Because we're trying to learn more about AI and tech, but we're using AI and tech to actually learn more about it. So although we're scared of it, it's really ironic that we're scared of something that's teaching us about it. It's Black Mirror.
We're trusting.
So to unpack your point, am I scared of it? I'm not scared of it, but what I am scared of is people who don't respect it. And what I mean by that is, so Industrial Revolution, right? Steam engines, didn't we? Right? I think it's called. I'm going to get this probably wrong. It might be Javan's paradox. I think it is, but I'll probably made an absolute mess of this. Right? I'll probably made the right mess of that. But when we had steam engines and they got more efficient, we all feared that they weren't going to burn as much coal, right? But they got that much of that efficient, cheap coal became that cheap. People started travelling places more because they had access to the technology of the steam engine.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Mm-hmm. We're now seeing. So remember the AI. The AI summit, was it 2023 when we first did the AI summit? 2024?
24, I think.
24, right? We first did the Yorkshire Humber AI summit, remember? And we built an AI agent that could actually give advice based on, I think it was I forget the name of the funding, but there was some funding that was available from local government, and we did an example of an agent that could give advice. It was a video agent on a website, and just to put it into context so everyone understands, these AI models run on something called tokens. Very complicated, but let me try and explain. Remember the old pay-as-you-go phone days? Depending on what provider you was, and depending on how much credit you bought,
you have to go top your phone up for text.
Depending on how much you could use it.
Yeah, so if you topped it up for £5, it used to be nearly 50p a minute back in the day.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Phone message was like 45p.
Yeah.
Text was like 5p.
Yeah.
Now, right, it was expensive, right? But if you paid £10, it was maybe 40p, and it stabilised, right? Now, would any of us agree to paying 50p a minute for a phone call in today's world? You get where I'm going with this? So what we've got going on with these AI models, and I go back to that event we did, it was costing us about $20 a token to process the data coming through this thing. Today, that's about 47 pence, right? So these AI models are getting cheaper, faster, and more available. So where I get scared about it, Sam, is we've moved from a steam engine to a combustion engine. We've now moved from a combustion engine to an electric engine. And I say this, AI is a rocket ship, right? And we are in space. Some of us are just getting on and about to launch into space. And AI, think about safety. If you don't understand what oxygen is and how important oxygen is, the moment you're in space and you're about to run out of it, you're going to have a bit of a problem. So my analogy on that is we have to know what we're doing, and that's why I think the government growth zones, all the work we're doing, there's so much work that some of our partners who we use, Paxate, they're working amazingly with Number 10 Downing Street. I've been over in Germany this week. There's so much good stuff happening, not this week, last week. So much good stuff happening, but it has to be around education. So do you want to unpack that a bit further?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And part of my role, I get asked daily from clients, or even friends as well who are running businesses, they want to start adopting AI into the business. They heard about it. They're scared. They're still scared of it. They're worrying about managing staff, paying the bills. They've got this to do, that to do, but they know that AI is there. It's at the forefront. Their competitors, their peers are now starting to adopt AI into their business, and they're sat there asking me questions. What do I do? How do I bring it into my business? And that's the number one question I get asked at the moment is, where do you start with AI?
Where would you say, Sam? Because I think, obviously, I've got an opinion on this.
In terms of where would you start with AI?
Where do you think?
For me, it's play with it. It's literally just, and it's easy for me to say because I like tech and I'm quite engaged with it. If you're not engaged with tech, I'd recommend just downloading some of these AI agents. There's plenty out there. Using an example of how I've played with it this week. Don't know if you've seen that. Gemini have the availability to create songs. I know there's a few others that are able to do it as well, but I've been able to literally, so it was Jen's birthday this week, well, it was my wife's birthday. She was just sending a bit of a WhatsApp message to both family groups saying thanks for the presents and the cards and whatnot. I was like, whoa, hold on. Let's flex some AI here. So we'd got her, she wrote a bit of a thank you message. We'd put it into the model, told it we want a reggae song coming out of it. And honestly, 10 seconds later, we've got a reggae song thanking individual family members for individual presents she's got. Went down a treat. We did another one. We did like a rap one, put it in the other family group, and but just by having fun with it, we're able to kind of explore the capabilities of it and see the power of it. And it's really daft, and it's just it's a bit of fun and it's a bit of joking. But I think that's the best way to learn AI. It's just play with it and have some fun with it because it can be fun.
And Sam, what I do, for my day-to-day business is try and make it safe for people to play with AI. And I think for me, you've got to. If you're scared of it, you need to find someone who can motivate, who inspire you to use it. And there's loads of people out there who can do that. And I think you've got to then start looking for some sort of quick win. So my mum is my biggest fan on AI at the minute. She's using AI for all different things. We've got sourdough getting baked on it. She uses it for travel summaries. She uses it for all different things, right? Got to make it safe. So that would definitely be my advice. Well, but what would you say, Dean?
No, I think you're right. I think it goes across both points, really, like what Sam's saying. Play with AI personally, but then obviously from my point of view, when I'm looking supporting businesses, it's a bit more difficult to play with it. We've got to make sure we've got the fundamentals and the securities in place to
Can't
do it.
give it too much information, can you?
You can't. No, so there's a
No, if it's not so there's a fine line, but we will unpack that in a bit, because I think, you know, we'll come back in a minute and we'll unpack that a bit further in the sort of final segment. So I think we're going to sort of park that in a minute. So we talked about AI being used for bad. How we're using it in business. I want to unpack the business bit a little bit, because I want to talk about our car journey the other day.
Yeah.
I thought you found that quite fascinating, didn't you? We'll talk about that. And then we'll just have a little bit of fun and all that sort of bit. So we'll be straight back after this. So we're back again, final segment. Dean, you've done well. You got through the first half.
Yeah, first one, yeah.
First radio show, yeah.
What's different from the podcast to the radio show? Faster acting?
Yeah, just a bit more structured, quick, fast-paced. Intense, yeah.
Intense.
Enjoyable.
Enjoyable. Good. Still going to have to fight with Paul now.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So competition with Paul now.
We'll have to get another chair, won't we?
Mike.
So what will we be unpacking? So we've been unpacking AI for everyday use, somewhere, everyone, and we were talking about AI being used by bad actors, to hack people, including the voices.
Yeah, the phone scams,
yeah. And how you can, mitigate that. How it's been used for business. But where I sort of want to go into this sort of final segment and just sort of unpack this one is, we didn't really talk about business loads, did we? And I don't want to talk about business too much, but what I wanted to sort of show is we went to a big client meeting, and I've been over out. So this month I've been over in Germany. I've been delivering the uni. We've got projects going on ourselves internally. It's very difficult for me and you to work together on client success sometimes when I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
Right? Agreed?
Mm-hmm.
But then, because the world of AI has changed that much, what I was saying to Dean is, we were going to spend the day together because we were travelling. You had no choice. You was like a hostage, weren't you, Dean?
Yeah.
And what did you notice the way I was using tech in the car? I was using Copilot, hands-free, right? All hands-free. But what was you noticing what I was doing?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, you think of the travel time. I think we had a, 2.5 hour journey?
There and back, yeah.
So that time, basically the use of AI during that journey was amazing. I think he used it for researching a member of staff training development plan, for example, talking to Copilot, asking what your agenda was for tomorrow. It read out your agenda bit by bit, time by time, till it got to a point where you realised, I've got an appointment tomorrow that I've not fully prepped for. And then you asked it, right, okay, what's attached to that calendar invite? It told you the document, it told you what was inside the document. And you could talk to Copilot, interact with your meeting, interact with your notes as if it was basically a third person in the car.
And you've never thought about using it, have you?
No, never.
I've told you before.
Yeah, you know, strange. I did the same this week.
Right, okay.
For the first time.
Did you really?
And I'm using yours, Copilot and Gemini. I had the same thing. I was asking for the emails, and again, a lot of the time, like I'm driving around doing meetings, and the emails sometimes get neglected. And you think, end of the day, I'm gonna have to. You kind of dread opening them.
Yeah.
But I just asked to read me the emails. It did. Some people were asking for some availability in my calendar. It was linked to my calendar. It could tell me some free spots. It booked it in, and it sent them an invite. And even did a reply for them, and asked me, "Are you okay? Me sending this? Yes, go ahead, done." And you know what? You were talking about it then. There's probably listeners now going, "Well, my business, work life, I don't need that." But I bet there's people driving kids to school at the moment, or to wherever, or kids in the car, or everyone's got busy lives. And if you can utilize AI in your calendar, and you can just speak to something while you're driving, multitasking in a safe way, and getting stuff done. So whether it's like you got someone's birthday in the calendar, whose birthday is it this month? Who do we need to buy for? Can you give me some ideas of what I can buy for them? Those are the type of everyday use cases which, we're talking business, but it applies to everyone, really.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Learn how to use it.
But the sort of key thing around that, I think, as well, is just showcasing, because I knew I had certain meetings, we've got some internal projects going on, we were upskilling our own team.
Yeah.
So it was really important for me to be able to plan. But what was really powerful was I had to get Dean up to speed on some of the things we was doing. So it was just so easy for me to say, right, Dean, this is what I'm working on. And we just got into Copilot, and you was just sat there amazed, weren't you? He was like, I've never thought. I was like,
how can I use this?
You know what, as well, I bet there's some people listening as well who, a lot of people are using products like ChatGPT at the moment. I bet there's a lot of people that don't even realise you can talk to it. Like, so we're talking a few levels ahead here, but if you've got an AI tool that you're using, there's a little button next to the search bar, little test if you've not done it already. Just press that and just start talking. Ask it questions and just see how lifelike and real and quick those responses are. It's not like Siri back in the day where you've got quite a robotic voice speaking back to you. It's very scary to human, isn't it?
But I think one of the challenges, and you might not be even aware of this, Sam, because I teach a lot on this. So ChatGPT will be what most people will probably have access to.
Yeah, I think
free
it's very common.
But what a lot of people don't realise well, though, on the free tools, it's not as good a quality because you're on the paid tools yourself.
Yeah.
But even on the free tools, though, you do have access to voice. But next time you fire your ChatGPT up or one of your AI tools, there's actually two buttons. One's a microphone and one doesn't look like a microphone. And I think they're doing this to save money. If you press the microphone, it's just like traditional dictation.
Yeah, where it's your text is going on your phone, yeah.
It's the button to the right of that you need to press, and that's how you can have the interactive two-way conversation. But let's get back on track then. So we started, didn't we? This month's AI story, isn't about robots taking over. It's about knowing who's on the phone call. That's where we started, didn't we? Yeah. Or where the big AI decisions are being made. And while most people feel shut out of both, the argument was, well, the government making massive strides to do that, aren't they? I think in business, I'm watching some of the great work the University of Hull's doing and other organisations around our great region. Everyone's trying to do that. But an interesting stat, Sam, there's some interesting stats around milestone systems. This is around 88% of Brits who regularly use AI worry that the trained systems are unlicensed, inaccurate, and may not respect people's privacy or trust, right? So one of the big things on the survey I'd done with 1,300 people, I was like, what were your biggest fears? And the biggest fear was trust. It's coming up a lot. But this is just like a simple thing that most people don't know. And when you're using these free AI tools, and let's just pause AI, there'll be people listening who have got a Facebook account. If you're using a Facebook account, if you read the terms and conditions, you're technically giving all your data away. Same on LinkedIn for a business account.
Which would scare some people, but really it's not that much. It's not.
It depends, but Sam, it is. It depending on what stuff you put on there.
Yeah.
Depending on what you post, yeah.
It depends on what you post and what you put on there.
So I remember they changed it once where like every image you put on, they technically own it, and people, there was uproar that, they own my image, and it's like, well, they do, but they kind of have to have it on their website. So there's bits of it as well which are a little bit misunderstood, but I guess what you're saying is that all the data is out there, and if you put whatever you put out there, is up for grabs, right? Yeah,
and that's how they're making money. And I want to go back to, I think it's Snapchat. I might have this wrong. It might be one of the other ones. And there is other social media platforms out there, just for clarity, Dean. That's the difference on this show. We have to make sure there's clarity and there's choice. Yeah,
exactly.
But I think one of the social media tools, when you took a picture with it, even if you didn't share it on that platform, but you took it within the app and you chose to delete it, the platform consumed that photo. And you might think, well, why is it doing that? Now, data is one of the biggest things, right? So what I want to think about, any of these platforms that we're using for free, you have to go into it understanding that anything free, you are the product.
Of course, yeah.
That make sense?
Yeah.
Anything free, you are the product. So
that's why Twitter, there's Twitter now, X, they've got their AI tool Grok. The reason why that's working so well is because they've got all of Twitter's data. The reason why Meta works so well as an AI tool and an AI company is because Meta is Facebook and it's got all the data from that. So, ironically, the rise of social media and everyone kind of being conscious about, not be really careful about who they accept as friends and have all the data they think that they're putting online is secure. Really, that company has been harnessing all of that data so that these big social media companies that have grown, they're the ones now that are leading AI because they've got all the data. So, Amazon as well, all the books, Kindle is Amazon. Yeah. That's why Amazon's AI is big.
One of the questions,
all data.
Well, one of the questions I get asked all the time on some of the courses, how do these tools know that I'm looking for stuff? And one of the big things, if you're an Apple phone, I'm not sure you don't have an Android phone, I'm sure you can, but there's a setting on an Apple phone where, I don't know if you've seen it pop up now, when you download a new app, it'll ask you, can these apps share your data, third party? It comes up a lot now, right? Now, what happens is on these free tools, when you're using these free tools, it will share your data because they want to make money out of it, right? And you might say, well, why do they want to make money out of it? They want to know your geo. So one of the big ones, which has been happening for years, your phone's got Wi-Fi on it. It's always looking for scans. One of the easiest things to do is when you're not using Wi-Fi, turn it off because your Wi-Fi gives you a heat map, and a lot of people track where you're moving through your Wi-Fi triangulation. People don't talk about that. That's nothing new technology. That's been getting used for years. So you have to understand that we're carrying a tracking device around with us, and then we're carrying a digital tracking device around with us.
It seems very conspiracy theory, but it's not. This is all fact. This is all
fact.
This is all what's going on.
It's all fact. So let me back with this then again. So what should we think about? So Pokemon. You had the Pokemon games.
Yeah.
And you've seen the one where it was online where you could go get special cards at certain locations.
Right. Yeah.
And no
I remember the Go about 10 years ago.
I remember the one. Yeah,
I got a bit lost in that game.
Right, but do you remember there was people running into town or
parks
and finding special ones, right?
Yeah.
Did no one know that there just happened to be, and I'm not going to mention the name of the retail chains, but some massive retail chains just happened to be
where the rare Pokemon were.
Oh, right. That's
what was they doing? It's a massive experiment where they were driving
That explains all that fast food that I had 10 years ago.
You get it, Sam, right?
Chasing Pokemon.
So I think what is changing, I think what we should be thinking about is, I think legislation needs to change. And again, I have children. We were talking about this with Paul the other week again, and I'll talk about it again. Our children, if we're not aware, and you've got young kids as well, didn't you? Is their best friends will be an AI, an algorithm. YouTube, people can't afford to pay for YouTube. But if you're not paying for it, you're giving all your child's data away. So it's. I think it's something big we need to be thinking about. But where do you boys want to go? Where do you want to go in this sort of final 7 minutes before we're going to be finishing? I
just want to bring an example up because obviously I know we're doing this show, and then before I jump on air, I think about how have I used AI and tech this week, and an interesting one for me is obviously I'm a videographer. And we were recently shooting for a construction company, and we were on the roof shooting people putting roof trusses up, basically. One of them did not have a helmet on, and I've taken some footage of it, great footage, come back to edit and gone, they don't tick the right PPE there. For whatever reason, it was on in all the other footage, just for a brief moment, it wasn't on.
Let's give him some credit. It fell off at that moment.
Oh, yeah. It was a brief moment. It was on in the shot before, not in, and on in the shot after kind of thing. So how do I use that footage? Normally, that's unusable, but with the use of AI and technology now, and there's new models that have come out for video AI recently, literally the last month or two, which have they're unreal. Literally able to prompt saying, "Please put a hard hat on this person," and it did, and it looks real, and that footage is now usable again. So just a cool little thing of how I've used it this week, and a good example of like how it's saving time and money, because it wasn't a big issue that it was something relatively small, but if that was a really key shot, in another situation, that might have been a reshoot. That might have been a situation where it's cost my client money because we're having to reshoot something because there's a mistake in the footage we've got. Whereas now it can be fixed.
Yeah,
I love that one, and I think what we should be thinking about now, in business and personal, is we're all spending money on stuff we shouldn't be spending on, right? So I think we should be investing that and making sure that we have got access to AI tools. Good AI tools, good AI models, but then I also think not everyone can afford that. I'm seeing a big digital divide in terms of digital inequality. So I think government should be thinking more about that. How we can make that happen. We're trying to work out with 107 FM, trying to get some more training out there. I'd love to make some of that training maybe available for free. So we're ThinkCloud's actively thinking about that, how we can help. But I think the pace I've seen it change in this last 12 months. I am astounded.
I think the last month. Honestly, I think this last month, from some of the tools that I said earlier about creating a song in less than 10 seconds, adding elements to the footage that I'm videoing, and I think it's past month, some of the agents. So what's going to be like next month? You know what I mean?
So the question is then, if you're seeing it save you time, aren't you, and add quality?
Oh, yeah.
You seeing the same?
In my work.
100%. I mean, if you look at when we was down in Blackburn earlier in the week, we had a quite a large meeting, 6 or 7 people in the room, lots of note taking usually, and we used AI to capture the audience, capture the notes, the key points that people was discussing, but not only capture notes from 7 people from a 2-hour meeting, but then to also drop it into a structured document which
with actions at the end
with really clear defined actions of what needed to be done, without putting a piece of pen to paper. It was mind blowing. Yeah,
I think for me, I just think I'm obsessed. You can't see behind here, but on my wall, see them flow charts, Sam, that no one else can see. There are agents I am currently building at the moment.
I thought you were just an artist, and that was some new abstract art you've been drawing on your walls.
And my challenge, so what I'm going to be working on between now and the next show is, I'm trying to build an agent every day. It's just a little challenge.
I think in the next show, let's dive into agents, because we've mentioned it a few times today, and I think a few people are thinking, agent, what's going on? Why are they about James Bond?
And I think Leon's that heavily invested in the agents. I'm getting people coming to what Leon talks about agents. What is an agent?
Yeah.
So we will unpack that.
Tune in next time to hear about agents.
But we have got 3 minutes though, right? And let's unpack it just slightly, right? Let's just take that. You putting that hat on that person, right?
Yeah.
For you to go do that takes time, right?
Normally that would it would take a hell of a lot of time, and it would probably not be too accurate as well.
Yeah. So the challenge you've got is an agent is just a way of systematically interacting with an AI tool to get a task done. So let's just talk what Dean was talking about there is. We've transcribed our meeting minutes, used an agent to then take the sentiment of the minutes and put it in the same structure every single time, but we used to manually do that.
So how would someone, I'm just thinking of like someone who's not heard of agent before, how would they access the agent? How did they use it? What is it still? So
it's really easy. Everyone knows what ChatGPT. Right, so my recommendation would be, ideally, if you've got a paid version, because that's one of the challenges. ChatGPT's got an agent in there. So you've got normal chat, and then they have what called chat, and we have what's called build. And these agents that are done for you out of the box on there, where they'll go do research, for example.
So it's more specific. So rather than just saying, can you give me a recipe for some sourdough? If you make an agent, you're basically going, hold on, before we do that search, let's put some information into the AI and really kind of niche down what we're talking about.
That's the best example. So me and my mum have built a sourdough agent. So before that, we would interact with ChatGPT or another AI tool, ask it to give us a recipe, but every time you ask an AI to give you a recipe, they're designed to what's called hallucinate. Hallucinate is to make something new, right? Now, if you want to have the same recipe, you've got a bit of a problem, because the AI is always going to try and get you something.
Every time you ask it, can you show me a recipe again? It's a different recipe.
Even if you was to forget about AI, you're just doing a Google search, Google's always going to give you different top recipes, right? So what we can do is we can take a process, which is baking sourdough, but to be able to build an agent, we need to have recipes. We need to have instructions from our ovens. We need to have set parameters. But just think about it. The easiest way I can explain an agent is they work a lot like people. So writing down a standard operating procedure, right? So how could they be used in your life? And all of a sudden, once you understand that, the word agent or agentic or agency,
custom,
humans have got agency to make decisions. Like right now, I'm watching the clock because I've got to get done on the hour, right? So I'm watching the clock, I'm ticking it down, I'm making sure, right, where we're going next, right? Agents give us agency to get rid of tasks and time, so we've got more time to do what we need to do. And what we've got to think about is machines are far better at doing things than humans are.
Say what?
And humans are far better at doing things machines are.
I've got a good real life situation of me using an agent.
Go ahead.
So going on holiday in a few weeks' time, I've gone on a ski trip with a few mates. And if you went into, say, ChatGPT and said, could you tell me what time I'm flying to the country we're going to, it wouldn't know because it doesn't know. But I've made a custom agent, and what I did is I put in all of our flight details, I've put in the transport that we've got to the airport, I've put in the transfer, I've put in the hotel information, I've even put like where you can get ski hire from and things like that. And then I've given it a few like instruction manuals of the area, not instruction manuals, like area of manuals.
But
and then I've put that in
context.
That's it. I've given it context, and then I've put it into the WhatsApp group that I'm in with the lads and said, any questions on the trip, ask this. Just go onto that link, and then that is effectively an agent, and they can ask, what time are we leaving to get to the airport? And it will say, because it knows the date, it knows the time, it knows what the traffic's going to be like. But if you asked it and it wasn't an agent, you just asked the model itself, you'd get it, but it'd ask back questions. It'd want to know more.
Exactly that. So we are going to wrap up. It's been an honestly epic show. But is there any sort of final before we take off? Any sort of final bits you want to say? Dean, how's it been to be back?
Yeah, it's fantastic to be back. It's been great. Deep dive into AI. Yeah, it's I think for me the educational piece really, and yeah, use AI. Just be safe.
I think for me, it's going back to the top of the show. Was on about AI cloning of voices and people using it to rip people off and scam them out of money. So for me, the takeaway I've got today is question every call you get, even if you recognise the voice.
And I'm going to link into that because I think the most powerful bit on this show for me, we got a bit, we always got to talk about AI models and we get into AI, don't we? We can't stop. And I think the most powerful bit is it's not about another model. It's about maybe a sticky note next to your mum or your grand's phone saying if someone rings up.
Traditional bit of paper can prevent something disastrous from happening.
It's been honestly awesome, Dean, to have you back.
Thank you.
I think we need to be fighting
Thanks for
to
having
make
me.
sure we have you back in again. But for me, that's the wrap on the Hack takeover on 107 FM. So I want everyone to stay sharp, stay curious, and always remember it's the people who shape the future, not the machines. So that's Leon checking out.
Dean checking out.
And Sam checking out.